The Temple Theater in Saginaw, Michigan is a place where stories are made. Since 1927, through thick and thin, the theater thrives because of its ability to create lasting bonds and enriching experiences as families, friends, and neighbors gather together. During each episode of Theater Stories, we're listening in on how the Temple Theater influenced lives in large and small ways. Thanks for listening. Now on with the show. Hello, Janet.
Yes.
Well, thanks for your willingness to share your Temple Theater story with us and with our community. It sounds like you have a pretty interesting one.
This is a long time back, and I was only in Saginaw for 1 year, 1968. Can imagine that. And it was operating totally as a movie theater back then. And in fact, the two big box ones way out by Fashion Square Mall hadn't even been built yet. And the Temple Theater, I think it was a Saturday, doesn't matter, was packed to the gills for a showing of Romeo and Juliet. I think people know that that's a Shakespeare play. And it had become very, very, very popular with teenagers because it was the first time that particular play as a film, the characters were the teenagers that they were written as, not somebody who was older. Teenagers just, for some reason, learning it was, and it was a couple very, very popular teenage actors. So, of course, we all know how it ends. They both die, and I was probably 22 at the time. So all of these teenagers, I swear every single one of them burst out into sobs. Just sobbing. And I thought, what? And then I realized they were reacting to the death. And it took them as real, I guess. And they didn't stop. You know, the lights came up and they're sobbing and they're sitting in their seats. And I'm going, this is way before way before anything that could have recorded. And I thought, I'm never going to forget that sound. And I haven't. Look how many years ago it was. And it's got quite a history. It was directed and co-written by Franco Zeffirelli, who at the time was a leading opera conductor type thing. They faded from history, but the two teenage stars were Leonard Whiting and Olivia Hussey. I don't think they did much after that, but they were popular at that time. The movie won a couple of costume design Oscar and cinematography Oscars, so it was the most financially successful film adaptation of a Shakespeare. Can you imagine teenagers today going to a Shakespeare theater in a movie and sobbing?
It does seem like a very unique experience there, especially under the golden ceiling of the Temple Theater.
I think I'm right. Only three theaters in Saginaw at the time. Yours, the Franklin, which has since been torn down, and the Court. So when I say it was filled, there were only three theaters to go to, and that was the biggest one. And I'm not kidding; it was full. I would love to know where all those teenagers are now.
Well, we might be able to find out where they are now that we have your story here. Now, I understand you have another experience at the Temple Theater. Tell me a little bit more about that.
This one was teenagers. So now flash forward to college students. And I don't think many people are familiar with this. It's called the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. And it's broken into regions. We were in Region 3, which was 5 states. And it is a 5-day, it's during the winter break. So a college hosts it each year, and there's all sorts of theater classes for theater students, costuming, everything, and they meet there. And on the final night, for 4 times, Saginaw Valley State University hosted, they did their final night at the Temple Theater, where the 1 or 2 big college productions were done, and then the awards. Okay? So again, it was filled to capacity with college students from those 5 states. Last night of the festival, as I said. And they were it was so noisy in there because they were all chit-chatting, and suddenly the organ started rising. and you could have heard a pin drop. I don't think any of these kids, I mean, how many theaters have organs anymore? And when it got in place, and it was Joanne Leach at the time, one of the best players there, you could have heard pin drop, like I said. And then at the end, it was a raucous standing ovation like a football team would get. And flashes from everywhere, because by then smartphones had been invented. And Saginaw Valley hosted it 4 years. I'm not sure which of this 4 years, but I'm estimating around 2010. So we went from sobbing to cheering.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that the other day.
Well, the theater does that, doesn't it? It brings out emotions in people.
Yeah, it brings out.
Right around the whole spectrum, from one end to the other end. And it sounds like you've had a neat experience at the theater with both those.
I got a kick out of because I always get there early and watch, and students, the college ones, not the 1968, because they were going to the theater, but the college students always kind of walk in and they start looking up at the ceiling, and they do sort of stand there looking. So yeah, it's dramatic, isn't it? Very theatrical.
Well, Janet, thank you for taking some time today to tell your stories and share your Temple Theater experience.
Anybody listening to this who hasn't ever, and there are still people in this town who haven't been in it, please go. Please go.
Thank you for listening to Theater Stories from the Temple Theater in Saginaw, Michigan. If you have a story you would like to share with our community, please reach out. We look forward to hearing more stories and making new ones.